Hello and a warm welcome to World This Week by Latest Laws. This is a weekly program, so hit the bell icon to get notifications for new videos. My name is Vasvi Bhatia and let's begin with Supreme Court this week.
The Supreme Court has observed that legislature cannot use saving clause to infuse life into a legislation that itself rendered as unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has observed that conviction of an accused can be solely based upon the dying declaration without corroboration if the court is satisfied that it is true and voluntary. The Apex Court granted 15 days parole to Rupam Pathak, serving a life sentence in connection with the murder case of then BJP MLA Rajkishore Kesri. The Apex Court asked a consortium of banks to file an affidavit on a fresh petition of Future Retail Limited, seeking quashing of lenders' letters warning initiation of insolvency proceedings against it. Next, we have the Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court has held that no one can be represented by third parties, such as a power of attorney holder in criminal proceedings. The High Court of Delhi has asked to clarify the legal enforceability of the centre's guidelines for the transportation of camels/animals while hearing a public interest litigation, stating guidelines were laid but not complied with by the concerned authorities and alleging illegal transportation of camels during Republic Day parade function. The Delhi High Court has ascertained legal position on computing the limitation period of 30 days prescribed under Section 138B of NI Act for issuance of a legal valid notice and observed that the day on which intimation has been received by the complainant from the bank that the cheque in question has been returned unpaid has to be excluded. Next, we have the Madras High Court. The Madras High Court has held that registry cannot question maintainability of writ petition if alternative remedies are available. The single judge bench also significantly observed that the power to issue writ under Article 226 or Article 227 is subject to the court's discretion even when an alternative remedy is available, and that alternative remedy in itself won't bar High Court to exercise its revisional powers under Article 227. Next, we have the Punjab and Haryana High Court. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has allowed a proclaimed offender to file for an anticipatory bail. The single judge bench observed that the offence committed and punishable with less than 7 years is a bailable non-heinous offence and that the accused is a first-time offender who has established a fair ground for not being present in court to the court's satisfaction. That mere fact that he has been proclaimed offender will not bar him or her from filing for an anticipatory bail under Section 438 of CrPC. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has held that powers vested in High Court under Section 482 of CrPC is wide enough to quash proceedings in non-compoundable offences. The single judge bench has also observed that High Court can end proceedings in cases not compoundable under Section 320 of CrPC. Next, we have the Jharkhand High Court. The Jharkhand High Court has reiterated that it is settled position of law that at the stage of framing of charge, the defence of the accused cannot be put forth. The single judge bench, while refusing to quash criminal proceedings against a public servant, where the trial has already begun, noted that the charge has already been framed in this case and the trial had begun, and therefore plea to quash the entire criminal proceedings cannot be considered. Next, we have the Kerala High Court. The Kerala High Court has reiterated that mere transfer to a place temporarily cannot be made into a ground to file transfer petition for cases before competent court, particularly when permanent residence is within the jurisdiction. Next, we have the Karnataka High Court. The Karnataka High Court has held that an applicant seeking relief under Section 5 of the Limitation Act has to explain the delay for every day that elapses beyond the period allowed, as law of limitation is not an equitable statute but a statute of response. The single judge bench ruled that above rejecting a petition while challenging the order passed by a labour officer, rejecting the claim of the petition on the ground of 8 years. Next, we have Andhra Pradesh High Court. The High Court of Andhra Pradesh told Twitter that follow in Indian law or pack your bags, as it pulled up the social media giant for not complying with its orders to take down abusive content against the judiciary on the popular platform. Next, we have Madhya Pradesh High Court. In one major observation, the Madhya Pradesh High Court has held that a doctor's opinion is relevant evidence under Section 45 of the Evidence Act, but it can rarely take place of substantive evidence and it cannot be conclusive. Next, we have the Telangana High Court. Declining to stay state government ordering permitting physical classes in all schools, Telangana High Court instructed the government to ensure facilities were provided for students to attend classes online in all government schools. Next, we have miscellaneous news. Investors in Davis Multimedia has launched a new treaty claim against India over its efforts to thwart enforcement of a US $1.3 billion ICC award. This comes weeks after the company's liquidation was upheld by the Indian Supreme Court. The fresh arbitration notice has been issued to the Government of India for alleged use of unlawful and abusive measures to prevent Davis from collecting compensation for a failed 2005 satellite deal between the startup and ISRO's Antrix Corporation. The government has finally introduced a much-awaited crypto tax regime where a blanket tax rate of 30% is applicable on the transfer of virtual digital assets. Finally, we have the international news. A maverick judge in Michigan, known for ripping into criminal defendants, is catching criticism again from a higher court. The Michigan Court of Appeals suggested Jackson County Judge John McBain is ripe for misconduct investigation for how he handled the sentencing of a woman convicted of killing her boyfriend on Valentine's Day 2015. The World Trade Organization has authorized China to impose retaliatory tariffs worth $645 million on imports from the US in a decade-old dispute over Chinese subsidies to promote exports of products such as solar panels and steel pipes. A US appeals court upheld the conviction of Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, rejecting his request for a new trial and keeping him in prison for life. Guzman was convicted in February 2019 of trafficking hundreds of tons of cocaine and other drugs into the United States over the course of 25 years, as well as money laundering and racketeering. Thank you and have a nice day. This is a weekly program. To get more information, check the description box, and to get weekly updates, like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.